Hey everyone, and welcome back to HealthStream. Are you ready to level up your wellness game? Hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community of health enthusiasts. Today we're diving deep into something we all use and maybe even love to hate: social media.
Social media.
Yeah, but we're not going to get lost in all those headlines about doom scrolling and filter bubbles.
Right.
We're going beyond the buzz to uncover the real impact of social media on our mental health.
That's what we're here for.
We've got some fascinating research lined up, so get ready for a thought-provoking deep dive.
It's funny, isn't it? Social media is often painted as this big bad villain or like this magical cure-all.
Oh, totally. Like it's either going to destroy us or save us.
Exactly. But the reality is way more complicated. Social media, like anything else, can be used for good or bad. It's so true. It's like that saying, a hammer can build a house or break a window. It all depends on who's holding it. And when it comes to social media, it's young people who are holding that hammer more and more. It's kind of mind-blowing to think that 84% of young adults between 18 and 29 are on Facebook. That's more than any other age group. Why do you think this age group is so drawn to social media?
Well, think about it. This generation has practically grown up with these platforms.
Yeah.
Social media is woven into their social lives, their education, even their identities. It's how they connect, share experiences, and navigate the world.
That makes total sense. But being immersed in the digital world, like, that has to affect their mental health, right?
Absolutely. And the research we're looking at today paints a really complex picture. We see both positive and negative effects,
Yeah.
which just goes to show that it's not just about how much time young people spend on social media, but how they're using it.
Let's start with the big one, the potential downsides. There's so much talk about social media addiction these days. And it's not just talk. Studies show that over 96% of young adults say they feel addicted to social media, and almost 70% use it constantly throughout the day. Imagine that. They're basically plugged in 24/7, getting bombarded with notifications, updates, a never-ending stream of content.
No wonder people feel overwhelmed and exhausted.
Mm.
But is it really addiction? Or is it just how things are now? How this generation communicates, connects, builds their careers. Where do we draw the line?
That's a really important question, and it's something researchers are trying to figure out. But here's the thing. True addiction means you lose control. You feel this compulsive need to do something even when it has negative consequences. And we're seeing that with social media. Think about phantom vibration syndrome. That feeling that your phone is buzzing even when it's not. That's a sign of the psychological hold these platforms can have on us.
I've totally felt that. It's like my brain is wired to expect that constant stimulation. But addiction aside, what about the overall impact on mental well-being? We hear a lot about anxiety, depression, even body image issues linked to social media. Is there any truth to that?
There's more and more research suggesting a connection between heavy social media use and these mental health challenges. It's hard to say for sure that one causes the other, but the patterns are definitely worrying. For example, studies have found that young adults who spend more time on social media report higher levels of anxiety, depression, and loneliness.
That's tough to hear, but it also makes sense in a way. We're constantly seeing images of these seemingly perfect lives, filtered photos, and carefully crafted personas. It's easy to compare ourselves and feel like we don't measure up.
Exactly, and that's where social comparison comes in. Social media often gives us a distorted view of reality, a highlight reel of people's best moments. It's easy to forget that everyone has struggles and insecurities, even those who seem to have it all together online.
So how do we balance this potential for harm with the fact that social media can also be a powerful tool for connection, community building, and even accessing valuable information?
That's where things get really interesting. Because you're right, social media isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool, and its impact really depends on how we use it.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. What are some of the ways social media can actually have a positive impact on our mental health?
Well, for starters, it can foster a sense of belonging and community. Think about online support groups, communities dedicated to shared interests, or even just connecting with friends and family who live far away. These virtual connections can make you feel validated, reduce feelings of isolation, and offer a platform to share experiences and seek support.
I've definitely seen that. It's amazing how social media can bring people together who might never have met otherwise. And it can be especially helpful for those who feel marginalized or isolated in their offline lives. But what about the argument that online connections are somehow less real or meaningful than face-to-face interactions?
That's a common misconception. While face-to-face interaction is definitely important, online relationships can be just as real and meaningful. In fact, for some people, online platforms might be a safer and more comfortable space to express themselves and build connections, especially those who struggle with social anxiety or other challenges offline.
That's a really important point. It's about recognizing that different people have different needs and preferences when it comes to social interaction. And for some, online communities can be a lifeline. But I'm also thinking about the potential for social media to be a source of information and resources related to mental health.
Absolutely. Social media can play a crucial role in raising awareness about mental health issues, breaking down stigma, and connecting people with valuable resources and support. We're
Hmm.
seeing more and more therapists and mental health organizations using social media to reach a wider audience, share information, and offer guidance.
That's fantastic. It's like social media is creating new pathways to access mental health care and support.
Exactly. It's breaking down barriers and making these conversations more accessible than ever before. And we're seeing a growing trend of individuals using social media to share their own mental health journeys, which can be incredibly powerful in normalizing these conversations and reducing shame.
It's inspiring to see people using their platforms to advocate for mental health and create a more supportive and understanding online environment. So it seems like we're starting to see a more balanced picture emerging. Social media is a complex tool with the potential for both harm and good.
Precisely. It's not about demonizing or glorifying these platforms. It's about understanding their complexities, recognizing the potential risks and benefits, and developing strategies to use them in a way that supports our mental well-being.
And that, my friends, is exactly what we'll be diving into in the next part, our deep dive. Stay tuned as we explore practical tips and strategies for creating a healthier relationship with social media. Welcome back at HealthStream. So last time we were talking about how social media is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used well or not so well.
Exactly.
It's all about figuring out the patterns and how to use this thing to actually make our lives better, not drain us.
Right. It's not about quitting social media completely, although that might be the right choice for some people, but about being more mindful, intentional, and proactive.
Okay, so let's get practical. What are some concrete things our listeners can do to build a healthier relationship with social media? Where do we even start?
One of the most basic steps is to become aware of how you're actually using it. How much time are you really spending on these platforms? Most smartphones have built-in tools that track screen time, which can be a real eye-opener.
Yeah, I know. I checked mine recently and I was shocked. I thought I was just a casual scroller, but I was spending hours on social media.
It's so easy to fall into those rabbit holes without realizing it. But once you know how much time you're spending, you can start setting limits. Maybe that means giving yourself a specific time limit, like an hour a day, or maybe it's just choosing certain times for social media, like during your commute or your lunch break.
It's like setting boundaries right,
Yeah.
protecting your time and energy so you don't get sucked into that endless scroll. But what about those times when we're stressed or bored and social media is just right there?
That's where mindfulness comes in. Ask yourself, why am I reaching for my phone right now? What am I trying to get out of this? Sometimes we use social media as a way to avoid dealing with uncomfortable emotions or to fill a void. But there are healthier ways to cope with those feelings.
So instead of automatically opening Instagram when I'm feeling anxious, maybe I go for a walk, listen to music, or talk to a friend. It's about recognizing those triggers and having other things to do instead.
Exactly. And it's also important to think about the content you're consuming. Are you following accounts that inspire you, inform you, or make you feel connected? Or are you seeing stuff that makes you feel inadequate, envious, or anxious?
That brings us to the idea of curating our feeds, which we talked about a bit last time. It's about being intentional about what we let into our digital space.
Exactly. It's like spring cleaning for your social media. Unfollow accounts that trigger negative feelings or push unrealistic ideals. Mute those friends who overshare. And actively seek out accounts that align with your values, that inspire you or make you laugh.
It's about creating a digital environment that feels supportive, uplifting, and in line with your goals. And it's okay to be picky. You don't owe anyone your attention or your energy.
Absolutely. And speaking of energy, let's talk about those pesky algorithms. They're designed to keep us on these platforms, and one way they do that is by showing us content that plays into our biases and preferences.
So even if we're careful about who we follow, the algorithms can still trap us in these little bubbles. That's kind of scary.
It can be. But awareness is the first step. Just knowing that these algorithms exist and are designed to manipulate our attention is important. Then you can start taking steps to break out of those bubbles.
How do we do that?
Actively seek out different voices and perspectives. Follow accounts that challenge your assumptions and expose you to new ideas. This could mean engaging with people who have different political views, following experts in areas you don't usually think about, or simply making an effort to get your information from a wider range of sources.
It's like diversifying your digital diet.
Yeah.
We need a variety of perspectives to stay informed, engaged, and avoid getting stuck.
Exactly. It's also about being a critical thinker. Don't believe everything you see online. Question sources, fact-check information, and be skeptical of dramatic headlines or emotionally charged content that's meant to get a reaction out of you.
It's so easy to get caught up in the emotion of it all. But we have to develop those critical thinking skills to navigate the digital world.
Absolutely. And it's not just about what we consume, but also how we engage on social media. Are we using it to authentically connect with people, or are we trying to present a perfect image of ourselves? Are we looking for real interaction or chasing likes and validation?
This brings us back to being mindful of our own posting habits. It's easy to get caught up in trying to show a perfect life online, but it's important to remember that being genuine is key.
Right. Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Focus on sharing things that are true to you and that you really care about. And remember, you don't have to share everything. It's okay to set boundaries and keep some things private.
It's about choosing what parts of yourself you want to share with the world. And knowing that you have that power, that choice, can be really powerful.
Absolutely. And it's also about thinking about how your posts might affect others. Are you being kind, respectful, and inclusive? Or could your words accidentally hurt or offend someone?
It's about recognizing that words have power online and offline, and it's our responsibility to use them thoughtfully. So we've covered setting boundaries, curating our feeds, being mindful of algorithms, and developing healthy posting habits. What else can we do to create a healthier relationship with social media?
One last and maybe most important thing is to prioritize those real-life connections. Social media can be a great way to stay in touch, but it should never replace face-to-face interactions. Make time for meaningful time with the people you care about, do hobbies that bring you joy, and get out into nature.
It's about finding that balance between the digital and the physical, the online and the offline, and realizing that true well-being comes from nurturing every part of our lives.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that feels rich and fulfilling and connected both online and off.
Welcome back to HealthStream for the last part of our deep dive into social media and its impact on mental health.
We've covered a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, from those potential downsides to ways we can build a healthier relationship with these platforms.
Right.
But now I'm thinking about the bigger picture. Like, how are all the trends on social media shaping our mental well-being? Things change so fast online.
It's true. Social media trends are like a window into what we're all thinking and feeling. They can show us our values, anxieties, even our hopes and dreams. And some of these trends have a big impact on our mental health.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Give us some examples. What trends are you seeing that really stand out when it comes to mental health?
One that's been getting a lot of attention is this whole hustle culture thing.
Oh, yeah.
You see it a lot on platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram. It's all about constant productivity side hustles and never-ending self-improvement.
I see those posts all the time. Inspirational quotes about working 24/7, the pressure to always be on, showing off those super busy schedules.
Yeah. Exactly. And while being ambitious and hardworking can be good things, this constant push to achieve can be bad for our mental health. It sets unrealistic expectations and makes us feel like we always have to be performing. It can lead to burnout anxiety, even FOMO.
Like you're never allowed to just relax or just be.
Right.
There's this message that you should always be doing more, achieving more, always going for the next big thing.
That's a great point. This never enough mentality can be really harmful. It makes us compare ourselves to others, doubt ourselves, and feel like we're always falling short.
And it's not just about work, is it? This hustle culture seems to be everywhere, from fitness and travel to relationships and even hobbies.
Yeah, you're right. It's like everything has to be a competition, something to show off and get judged on. And this pressure to look perfect online leads us to another trend, this whole curated perfection thing.
Ah, yes, the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be living these perfect lives online, which makes it hard not to compare yourself and feel bad.
Exactly. The filters, the staged photos, the carefully written captions, it all creates this fake picture of reality. We forget that everyone struggles, even those who seem to have it all figured out.
It's like social media is changing how we see what's normal and what we can actually achieve. It makes us feel like we're never good enough.
And this can be especially hard on young people who are still figuring out who they are. They see these perfect images everywhere, which can lead to body image problems, social anxiety, and this constant need for approval.
It's a lot to deal with, especially when these trends are constantly changing and feeding into each other.
It is, and then there's a whole issue of misinformation and echo chambers, which is really worrying when it comes to mental health.
Oh, yeah. We talked about algorithms before, but how are they making this problem worse?
Well, as we said before, those algorithms are designed to keep us scrolling. And one way they do that is by showing us things that fit with what we already believe. This creates these echo chambers where we only see information that reinforces our opinions.
So we're less likely to see different viewpoints or information that challenges us.
Exactly. And this can make people more divided and make it harder to have real conversations and think critically. It also makes us more likely to believe misinformation and conspiracy theories, which can make us more anxious and less trusting.
Wow, that's kind of scary. It feels like we're trapped in this web of trends that are all connected, making it hard to tell what's real and what's fake.
I understand that feeling, but remember, we're not helpless. We just need to be aware of how these trends work and understand how they can affect us. Then we can take steps to protect ourselves.
So even though there are these worrying trends, there's still hope. We can take back control and use these platforms in a way that helps our mental well-being.
Absolutely. And actually, I'm pretty encouraged by some of the positive trends I'm seeing on social media. One is the growing focus on mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma around it.
I've noticed that too. It seems like people are more comfortable talking about mental health, asking for help, and supporting others who are struggling.
Exactly. Talking openly about these things is so important. It helps us build a more caring and understanding world. Social media can be a powerful tool for spreading these conversations and connecting people with the resources they need.
Another trend I've seen, and I'm curious what you think about it, is the rise of digital minimalism or intentional social media use. It seems like people are becoming more aware of their online habits, setting boundaries, and focusing on real-life connections.
That's a really positive sign. It shows that people are starting to see the downsides of spending too much time on social media and are taking steps to make their digital lives healthier. It's about taking control of our technology instead of letting it control us.
So while there are some trends to be careful of, there's also a movement towards a more balanced and mindful approach to social media. That's pretty awesome.
It is, and it brings us back to the main point of our whole deep dive. Social media is a tool, and like any tool, it a lot depends on how we use it. We have the power to shape our online experiences and protect our mental well-being.
This has been such a fascinating journey. We've really explored how social media affects our lives and our mental health. We've learned about the potential risks, the unexpected benefits, and most importantly, the things we can all do to navigate this digital world in a way that keeps us healthy and happy.
So the next time you pick up your phone, remember, you're not just scrolling through a feed. You're interacting with something powerful that's shaping our culture, our relationships, even how we see ourselves. Use it wisely.
That's such a powerful reminder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into social media and mental health. We hope you learned something valuable and that you have some new tools to help you on your own digital journey.
And remember, a healthy digital life is a big part of healthy, happy you. Stay well, everyone.